So this is the beginning of lesson 3, and here I've got all of my data imported into SPSS, but now I need to go through the process of narrowing down to the votes associated with my public law. To do that, I need to do a couple different things. First, I want to go back to my macro level database, right? And so in my macro level database, I had 107th Congress, second session, roll call vote 19 all the way through 34. Right? So I'm looking for roll call votes 19 through 34. In this SPSS data, I cannot go out and just simply go look for 19 through 34 because I have votes in the second session. And so I have a whole series of votes that were cast in the first session that I'll need to add to this to give me kind of a starting point to look for where my votes are. And the other problem here is that sometimes the data for vote view will drop some unanimous roll call votes. And so usually you have to kind of search around in here. The roll call numbers don't line up exactly, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do a little searching. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of this congress.gov, and this is the link in the instructions. And in here we have the roll call votes from all the sessions, but they're broken down by sessions. And so I'm in the 107th Congress, and my votes are in the second session, but I need to see how many votes are in the previous one. So I'm going to click on this link, and that's going to take me to this one, and it's going to tell me that the last roll call vote in the 107th Congress first session was 512. So I need to add 512 to 19. So if I add 512 and 19, I get 531. As you see, the actual roll call vote is going to be 525 because I've already found them in this. But let me show you through how the process of how I found that 525 was the beginning. Okay, good. So at this point, I know my first vote is 19th in the second session, and I know that there was 512 votes associated with the first session, so I'm going to be starting to look for vote 531. To make this easy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way back to my SPSS data, and I'm going to run a couple different things that are going to help me identify where these votes are. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here in the Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Crosstabs. Okay? And here I'm going to put in a couple of different things. The first thing I'm going to look is the roll number, and I'm going to put that in rows. And then I'm going to put in the CAS code, because that's the actual, this CAS code, the 1 and 6. So 1 is an I, and 6 is a nay, and 7s are I'm not sure, and 9s are not participating. So I'm going to put those in the columns, and then I'm going to run a quick crosstab, and it's going to give me this kind of the summary of all the ayes and nays for those different roll call votes. And I can use that to match up to my data. So I'm going to run this, and it's going to give me a big old honking crosstab through here. Now this will tell me the number of ayes, nays, and I'm not sure, I can't remember what 7 is and what 9s are. I'll have to look that up later. But the key ones are these kind of first two columns. If I go all the way down to 531, this is going to be the first start. So I've got 185, 237. Let's go back to my roll call data. My first roll call is going to have 179 ayes and 249. So I'm going to be looking for 179, 249, followed by 53, 377. So let me go through and look through the crosstabs and see where I find. So 531, that doesn't match up. If I go back a little bit, I'm seeing 53, 377 there. And so if I go to 525, I've got the first one. And that didn't help me. Let me page back down. 525. So 525 is the first one, 179, 249. And if I go all the way down from there, let me go find what the last one that I have. My last roll call vote is going to be 240 and 189. And so let's see what that one's going to be. Where's 240 through 189? 240 through 189, which is 540, which I already had in there. So in my case, I need to go through and I need to import, or I need to isolate votes 525 through 540. Okay, and I'm going to do that rather simply right now with some help from SPSS. And so in SPSS there is okay, to identify my votes or to get rid of all this other surplus data. Remember, I have 430,000 kind of observations here. I'm going to use this select data button again, or you can get it up here from data, select cases, and it'll take you to this menu. And what you'll do is you'll just create a Boolean kind of search criteria. Right? So one thing that you could do is you could go through and you could say roll call equals, in first case is 525, and you could say I want roll call equals 526, and you could do roll call equals 527. You could do that for all of your votes and then kind of do it that way. The other way that you could do this is you can just kind of put together a more simple Boolean kind of process. And so let me kind of, mine's pretty simple. They're all in a row. So just do roll call number greater than, my first one is 525, so I'm going to make that 524. And I'm going to do roll call number less than 541, and that'll cover all of mine. And I'm going to continue. And what I'm going to do then is, the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to filter out the cases. I'm going to go OK. So what that'll do is, if you look at on this left-hand column, what it'll do is it'll put a dash through those numbers, meaning that they're not selected. Now we got 430,000 bits of data here, so I'm going to go through and run the crosstabs again and have it show me what it did. So the first one I'm going to do is roll call number up there. I'm going to put the CAS code in the columns again. I'm going to have it run. And this time, notice the data goes 525, 526, 527, all the way to 540. I've got all of my votes, and so I know that I've selected the correct data. That means I can just go back to this one, click on this button again, and instead of filtering out those selected cases, I'm just going to delete them now. And once I delete them, I'll have my kind of final database. And so I'll go from 525 all the way down to 540. All right. So everything is good at this point. I've got my SPSS data, so I'm going to save this to my desktop. I'm going to call it pols 3320 roll call, and I'll call this version 002. I already had a 001 out there. I'll call it 002. Okay. So I saved that, and this is my data, and so we're ready to go on and start doing some other stuff at this point. Okay.